Very good morning, my dear friends. Welcome back to Chandan Logic's English channel. You're watching English class. My name is Sham. My dear friends, in this session, we are going to spend some time on a section called sentence completion. So what is meant by sentence completion? Maybe there is a very lengthy sentence and a part of the sentence is missing. You will be provided options and you have to choose the right option, and then you have to consider the meaning, you have to consider the context. You should also understand the grammar rules as well. This is going to be a challenging section. This is going to be an interesting section. So let's get started. I once again welcome you all to English class, and this session is designed exclusively for banking job aspirants. I'm sure this session will get you some good content today. So you're watching Chandan Logic's English YouTube channel. Every morning I come on live, and every evening I come on live on Chandan Logic's Telugu YouTube channel. And as you already know, Chandan Logics has a free course that has lots of practice questions to practice. You can take it and start your practice, and police job aspirants can get English classes at a very reasonable price, my dear friends. So this session, like I have said, is going to be slightly challenging but important, especially for banking job aspirants, exclusively PO. Okay, so question number 1 is on the screen. This is purely based on your understanding of the sentences. So I'm going to give you 60 seconds. Can you try this? I'm going to give you 60 seconds. Can you try this? Yes, my dear friends, what's up? Maybe you will find it difficult in the beginning, but I promise you, you practice for a few minutes, it's going to be easy for you. What all is needed is your understanding skills. Your understanding skills. If you genuinely ask me, there are no shortcuts to this. You need to understand it. Yes. Here we go. Despite repeated assurances that the recent surge in food prices would be temporary, the persistence of inflationary pressure has compelled policymakers to dash. Particularly because prolonged price instability can severely affect households with a limited disposable income. So my dear friends, please understand the meaning of the sentence. Of course, there are shortcuts, but I don't advise you shortcuts today. It's purely based on understanding of the sentences. Despite repeated assurances that recent surge in food prices would be temporary. So, first of all, what is the problem? This is the problem. Food prices are huge. Food prices are very high. Food prices are huge. Food prices are very high. This is the problem. So already government has assured that don't worry. These food prices will fall down. Don't worry. This is what the assurance has already been given by maybe the government or central bank. But the problem is the persistence of inflationary pressure has compelled policymakers to what? To what? Any guess? See, for example, I have a health problem. I went to a doctor. Doctor said, don't worry, Sham, I'll give you medicine. 3 days, everything will be fine. But after 1 week also, same health problem exists. And I went to the doctor and said, sir, what is this, sir? You told me that this problem will be solved in 3 days, but my hand has still problem. Then what the doctor will do? The doctor will try to reassess the effectiveness of existing monetary measures. This is the answer. Why? Because this is, see, first of all, understand the options. First of all, understand the options properly. Understand the options properly. Circumvent the structural causes of unemployment. There is nothing here about unemployment. Now, dispense with forms of fiscal intervention. There is a little chance. But why do you want to use dispense with? Do you want to dispense with something? Perpetuate the illusion of economic prosperity. Oh my God, this is funny. Illusion. So, which means economic prosperity is not going to happen. It is just an illusion. Why will the government say to the people, even though it may be true, why will the government or the Reserve Bank of India tell the people that economic prosperity is just an illusion? India has to suffer with extreme poverty. Don't expect good money. Economic prosperity is an illusion. Why will the governments say that openly and negatively? So the right answer is the first option. The right answer is the first option. What does the first option say here? So governments are trying to reassess the effectiveness of existing monetary measures, which means the Reserve Bank of India is saying that don't worry, we have come forward with some monetary measures and these monetary measures will definitely help you. So don't worry, reassurance, okay, reassess. So that is why students, I said today's session is going to be slightly challenging. Okay, done. Let me take you to the next question. Question number 2. And if you have any doubt anywhere, I want you to ask me in the comment section. Okay, as far as the question is concerned, if there is any confusion, any doubt, please let me know. Yes. Can I get more confident answer for the question number 2, dear? Yes, I'm waiting for your answer. Your reading speed matters a lot. What matters a lot is your reading speed, dear. Okay. Although the new drug has demonstrated remarkable efficacy in the preliminary trials, medical researchers have warned that. So first of all, you tell me, dear. Although came. So although is a reverse conjunction. Although comes, even though comes, in spite comes, despite comes. The two clauses of the sentence must be in the reverse. Plus, minus and minus, plus. Although the new drug has demonstrated remarkable efficacy. So here positive came. Then definitely this should be negative, and that to say warned is negative. So some negative should come here. Now if you see the options, medical researchers have warned that dash negative, we want negative. Okay. Adverse effects observed in earlier trials were negligible. Adverse effects means bad effects were negligible. Bad effects were negligible is a positive sentence, not a negative sentence. Patients should abandon conventional treatment immediately. It is a positive thing. It is not a negative thing. Its potential has already been conclusively established. It is a positive thing, dear. We want negative. Prescribing it indiscriminately. See, indiscriminately means carelessly. And imprudent. Imprudent means without any intelligence, foolish. This is absolutely negative. So maybe you also can try this plus minus factor as usual. Like every time I say, no? Maybe you can try this plus minus factor. What do you think? Maybe you can try this plus minus factor. What do you think? Yeah, guys. I'll explain the whole sentence meaning if you want. So already there is a medicine that proved very nice effective. The medicine had a very strong effect. It was already proved. But even then, medical research has warned that prescribing that medicine carelessly is not a good decision. For example, there is a medicine. That medicine was actually working well. But even though it was working well, the researchers said don't use it carelessly. I'll give you one example. Most of us we use cold tablet, some cetirizine or levocetirizine, whatever. When you take that cetirizine or levocetirizine, it works very well. In 1 hour, 2 hours, the cold is gone. But what happens is, you start using it every time you get a cold, indiscriminately. That is an imprudent decision because your body will adapt to that. And one day, even though you take that cetirizine, doesn't work. Your body will get resistant to that. And addiction also happens. Okay, guys. Beautiful question. Question number 3. I know the options are big, but that should not affect your confidence level. I want my students to be very confident and focused. Can you try the third answer, dear? Yes, my dear friends. This session is going to be the real challenging session. And especially for banking students, you can expect this level questions. If not in prelims, at least in mains. As the number of sophisticated cyber attacks targeting financial institutions continue to increase. So this part of the sentence is minus. Cyber security attacks, cyber attacks are increasing. Okay, very good. Minus. So because of what's the problem? Banks can no longer afford to treat cyber security as a mere technical concern. Instead, they must. So what did you understand, my dear friends? Because for the fact that cyber security is too much increasing rapidly, today banks are not taking it light. According to the banks, this issue is not a simple issue. This issue is a dash issue, serious issue. So what the banks have to do now? What the banks have to do now? What the banks have to do now? Let us see the fourth option. Do you think banks have to assume that conventional authentication mechanism will remain adequate indefinitely? Why will banks assume that conventional means old? Why will banks assume that the old methods are effective? Come on. And that too, assumption is not the right way. There is a serious problem, security problem, cyber security, cyber attacks. Why will the bank simply assume and presume? Restrict digital banking services. My God. If one day digital banking services are restricted, the whole world is going to be chaos. The nation will lead to chaos. One day if there is no phone pay, no Google Pay, no online transactions, khatam. Very difficult. All banks will delegate all responsibility to external technology vendors, which means banks want to say, we don't want to take the responsibility. We have no idea. We are only providing services to you, but the security technology is provided by some external vendor. We have no idea. You go and blame them. No. Banks cannot say that at all. Banks have to take the responsibility and solve the problem, like integrate risk management, employee training, technological safeguards into comprehensive security framework. So this is the right solution that the banks have to find. Banks cannot simply evade the responsibility. Banks can't simply say, we have no idea, so don't come to bank and question us. If your money is lost, go to Narendra Modi directly or go to Nirmala Sitaraman directly. We have no idea. No, banks can never say that. Banks have to find some proper solution, and this is the proper solution. Okay. Question number 4, my dear friends. Question number 4, my dear friends. Students, this time, speed answer. Reading speed. Reading speed, your understanding skills. That's very important. Students who are consistently rewarded for memorizing information without being questioned to question, without being encouraged to question its validity, may perform well in conventional exams. However, they may eventually struggle when required to apply their knowledge to unfamiliar situations. See, the meaning of the sentence is, rot process means, mostly that's what we have done in our schools and colleges. We were mugging up the stuff, we were getting by heart, so we have no practical knowledge. We were only focusing on learning the theory rules, a plus b whole square formula, photosynthesis formula, we were getting by heart. We had no practical sense. So then what's the problem? What is the consequence? If suddenly the situation is changed, we find it difficult to handle the situation. It's a very simple exercise. See, this is not the problem. The students who get by heart the content, they can happily reproduce in the exams. That is not the problem. Getting marks in the exam is never a problem. And that too, students who get by heart and get some top percentages, they are always appreciated by the schools and colleges. They become the toppers, they become the inspirations and rankers. The real problem is, if the same situation is slightly changed, there starts the real problem. So recall definitions that have been repeatedly present in textbooks. They have no problem. They will recall the definitions. They will recall the definitions. I think you have seen the movie 3 Idiots. Amir Khan's movie 3 Idiots. In that movie, there is a student who is questioned what is the definition of a machine. And Amir Khan tries to tell the definition of a machine in a simple term, in easy to understand language. Whereas his friend, who is an expert in getting by heart, he tries to get by heart some big definition and reproduces there, and the professor praises him and reprimands Amir Khan. Next, let's go to the question number 5, my dear friends. Yes. What is a friendship? A friendship that survives years of disagreement is often more resilient than one based on some shared interest. Because genuine companionship is ultimately tested when individuals are required to dash. It's a beautiful sentence, dear. The meaning of the sentence is, imagine there are two friends. These two friends have been friends for many years, even though they had lots of differences of opinions. They had lots of disagreements, and even then they were friends, which means their friendship is real friendship, strong friendship. Whereas there are two other friends who were friends only because they had a similar interests. They were alike. Now, if these two friends who were alike suddenly have some disagreement, they cannot be friends anymore, because they are not ready to adjust or adapt and accept the real character of the person. It's like saying disagree to agree. So, the friends who were friends, even though there were many disagreements, were the real friends and strong friends. That is the meaning here. Resilient means very strong. Resilient means very strong. Resilient means very strong. Resilient means very strong. So, remain supportive even when situations are very difficult to handle. Sometimes it happens in our lives also, not only with friends, with also family members, but also family members. We have a lots of differences of opinions, but still we are one. We accept the disagreements and move forward. That's the real relationship, no? That's the meaning of the sentence. Here there is nothing to hide the disagreement. There is nothing to avoid. See, these are all the opposites of that. The question meaning is, companionship is ultimately tested when individuals are required to remain supportive even because of some disagreements. Your reading speed is really important here. Can you try the question number 6? Please read the sentences. Please read the sentences. And options as well. Yes. People who invest their savings solely on the basis of recent market performance often overlook the possibility that unusually higher returns may be temporary. Consequently, prudent investors should do what? Question mark. There is already a clue given here actually. There is a clue given here. What is a clue given here? Prudent. Here prudent. So you are talking about prudent investors. Means naturally prudent means who are very sharp, clever, good at decisions. So definitely here positive should come. See, that is a clue, you can take it. Now you are talking about intelligent investors, prudent investors. Do you think prudent investors disregard fluctuations in the market? Never. If there are fluctuations in the market, everybody should respect them and act accordingly. If there are fluctuations in the market, everybody should take them seriously. You can't ignore them. You can't neglect them. Okay. Do you think prudent investors assume that? First of all, assumption doesn't really work in economy, brother. Assumptions don't work in economy. Do you think an investor will assume? Okay, even if he assumes, past performance guarantee future possibility what? Past performance guarantees future profitability. Is that really possible? Last year, My mutual fund showed profits. So can I think because last year I got profits, next year also I will get profits? No. Do you think a clever business person will concentrate all his portfolios on only one asset with the highest recent return? He will have to go for long-term calculations. I don't know how many of you invest in shares and mutual funds. Even you have a very profitable portfolio, you don't want to invest there. You have to check the background and consistency. So a clever fellow will evaluate underlying risks, and diversifying the investment is important. In English, there is an idiom, never put all the eggs in one basket. Do you know this idiom? Don't put all the eggs in one basket. Like that, a clever business person doesn't invest all his money in one basket. He actually distributes his investments in diversified professions, diversified departments. Maybe, X amount in mutual funds, Y amount in, shares, and Z amount in, properties, immovable property, or maybe some C amount in jewelry, ornaments, gold, and some amount in silver, some amount in, stocks. So basically, he distributes, he diversifies it. See, most of these questions, I think A option seems to be the right answer. But that's fine, okay. But I'm trying to, I want you to try to read the sentences, understand the sentences. Your reading skill is very important here. Your reading skill is very important. Can you try again the 7th answer? Can you try the 7th answer? Please read the sentences. Take time, no hurry. Unless governments introduce stringent regulations governing industrial emissions and simultaneously encourage cleaner production methods, environmental degradation may reach a stage at which, now tell me. Imagine no governments are focusing on environment. No government talks about nature. Everybody is only destroying the environment. No government is talking about the nature. Then what's going to happen, dear? No government is talking about environment. No government is talking about nature. Then what's going to happen? Any guess? We will go to a stage at which what's going to happen, Industrial development will eliminate all forms of ecological balance. I think this is very close. Next. Technological innovation would become irrelevant to environmental policy. I think this is also very close. Economic expansion would automatically cease to have any environmental consequences. Very close. Reversing the damage would require resources far greater than those necessary for wow. This is a beautiful exercise. Meaning is concerned. Now a lot of people said A option. Why only A? Are you saying A because all the previous questions had A as the right answer? You genuinely tell me what is the problem with the 4th option, 3rd option, 2nd option. Please understand the meaning. What if all the governments neglect the environment? What will happen? What will happen? Industrial development will eliminate all forms of ecological imbalance. Correct? No? When industries develop too much, ecological balance is gone. No ecological balance. This is also fine. Technological innovation would become irrelevant to environmental policy, which means if after a certain point, whatever technology you develop, already environment is gone. So what is the use of technology? Like I'll give you an example. Today we are using Wi-Fi everywhere. because of this Wi-Fi cell phone towers, nature is already damaged. Ozone layer is damaged. Birds are already gone. Today you don't find parrots flying in the sky. You hardly find any, sparrows coming to our homes in the balcony. So already technology has damaged the environment. So if you, meaning wise, all the 4 options are perfect. Meaning wise, all the 4 options are perfect. But then, what is the right answer? It is purely based on your understanding skills. The meaning is, unless governments introduce strict regulations governing industrial emissions and simultaneously encourage cleaner production, what will happen? Environmental degradation. So one thing is for sure, we are talking about environmental degradation. Technology is not very closely related to that. So may reach a stage at which the damage goes to such a level when you can't reverse the damage. I'll tell you now why first option is the only option. Third option is wrong because here you're not talking about technological innovation. This is not directly related to that. It is correct. Meaning is okay, but not directly related to that. Now, in the second option, the problem is you are nowhere talking about industries or damage. The whole paragraph talks about industrial emissions. But in the second option, you're talking about economic expansion. But you're not talking about industries and damage. Now, if you look at the fourth option, the problem in the fourth option is the meaning. Meaning is not correct. Meaning is not correct. Industrial development is positive or negative? Positive only, no. Why would the industrial development eliminate ecological imbalance? If you see here, if this is ecological balance, that's fine. But you say ecological imbalance, so that's the problem. In the fourth option, in the place of imbalance, if balance is there, that could have been also the right answer. See how nice the question is. In the fourth option, in the place of imbalance, if balance is there, that could have been the better option. Okay. Guys, can you try the question number 8? I want you to read all the options. Don't simply come to a conclusion that A is the answer or B is the answer. I know most of these questions have A as the answer, but don't be judgmental. This is about employment, correct? It talks about employment. This talks about employment. Please read the sentences to you. The rapid adoption of automation has generated apprehension. See, the problem starts here. The problem here, rapid adoption of automation. Automation is fine, but rapid adoption, very quickly everybody wants automation. That led to a problem, generated apprehension. Do you know the meaning of apprehension? Apprehension means doubts among workers whose occupations involve repetitive tasks. Nevertheless, economists argue that technological progress need not reduce employment if dash. Beautiful question. I think in this question we are talking about, can the machines replace humans? Can the machines replace humans? So this talks about, can the machines replace humans? For example, we have driverless cars. Maybe very soon we will also have driverless buses. Then one day, maybe after 10 years, that day will come when all the RTC buses go with technology, automatic. They don't have drivers and they don't even have conductors. You don't have a conductor. You don't need a conductor. Imagine. Already in many nations, the buses have no conductors and some buses don't even have drivers. So then many drivers and many conductors are losing jobs. Correct or wrong? So that's the question. Because of this automation, many people are losing jobs. But some economists say, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. This problem can be solved if governments prohibit industries. Oh my God. What will happen if governments prohibit the industries? How silly that sounds. Employees are discouraged from acquiring knowledge. Why will any employee be discouraged from gaining knowledge? Every employee will be encouraged to gain knowledge. No employee will be discouraged from gaining knowledge. How silly it is. Companies are prevented from adopting productivity technology. No way. Do you expect companies are prevented from? Companies will adopt technology. It is their responsibility. So the better solution is the workers should be provided opportunities to acquire skills suited to emerging occupations. Which means on one side the technology is important, on the other side manpower. We should also protect manpower, no? So the humans should be equipped with better skills to match the performance of machines. This is purely based on your understanding, my dear friends. Can you try the question number 9? Last 2 questions. We'll stop at 10th question. Today I don't want to trouble you more. Today is Sunday. I'll leave you early. Complete the 2 questions, but read them. Don't simply put the answer A or B. Read them, read them, read them. This is about psychology, my dear friends. It talks about psychology. People often resist information that contradicts their beliefs. Correct? For example, I have some belief system. If somebody says against that, I don't like it. I resist. Even when the evidence is supporting that the information is compelling, because accepting it may require them to dash. The meaning is, I feel my decision is right. But my friend said, Sham, your decision is not right. I believe my decision is always right. Who are you to oppose me? No, I don't listen to you. Natural ego. Everybody will have their ego. I am right, you are wrong. My friend came forward with some interesting logic that really proves that my decision is wrong. So my subconscious mind says, now after listening to my friend's logic, I am wrong. But even then, I will not accept that I am wrong. Because to accept that I am wrong needs reconsideration of all the assumptions. I have to change my whole ideology. I have to change my whole ideology. To reconsider our decisions, we must change our ideology completely. We must, completely change our ideology. That's the problem. That's the problem. It's not easy to reconsider. See? For example, if I have to say I am wrong, I have to reconsider the assumptions that have become integral to their understanding of the world. Here there is nothing about reinforcing beliefs. This is a positive. Dismiss all forms of information? No. Why will I dismiss the information which is already what I believe in? Avoid examining the psychological reasons underlying their decisions. See, if this is done, naturally there is no problem at all. The problem is this. If I have to accept I am wrong and you are right, that needs a lots of change in my attitude. I should remove all the red chips, red chips. I have to remove all the red chips from my mind and then be very humble to myself and others and say your logic is right, I am wrong, which is not that easy. That requires complete, renewal of mindsets. The last question today, and then we'll end this session after the 10th question. I'm leaving you 10 minutes early today. Most of the questions today, almost all the questions today, option seems to be A, which is a great coincidence. But I want you to read the sentences. The purpose of this session is to improve your reading skills, understanding skills. How you read the sentences. How you read the sentences, that's very important. Although modern medicine has considerably prolonged human life, its success in postponing death should not be mistaken for an ability to, eliminate mortality. Nobody can eliminate mortality. We have a lot of modern medicine, which means if I take that medicine, rather than dying at 50, I will die at 60. Or rather than dying at 70, I will die at 80. But I will die one day. You will die one day. We all will die one day. Whatever technology has innovated recently in medical field, it couldn't stop mortality. Can it? Do you think that any technology can stop the death? If that can happen, I think that would be the biggest invention. It's almost like a challenge to God. That's going to be the real challenge to the nature. Destiny. You're fighting with the destiny. But as of now, no technology can stop death. That is the meaning of the sentence. So he said, don't mistake it. The technological advancement cannot be mistaken for eliminating mortality. Nobody can eliminate mortality. Nobody can eliminate mortality. So my dear friends, in this session we have practiced 10 questions, but each question has 4 options. So overall 40 options we have to read and study. Even here also you see, reduce the incidence of several previously fatal illness. That is okay. New medicines will reduce the fatal illness. It is only illness. You are only decreasing the illness. You are only preventing the disease. But you are not able to eliminate mortality. No medicine as of now has successfully been able to eliminate the death. Mortality means death. So we got to read 40 options actually. Reading skills, comprehending skills. That's very important. So this is what we call in banking level exams, sentence completion, a very challenging section in banking exams. If possible, we will practice more of such exercises in our upcoming classes as well. Please be motivated, be focused, be patient. Keep practicing English. 2026 has good number of opportunities coming on the way. Be motivated, be humble. The most important thing is have discipline, have consistency, have patience, have humbleness. Today we see a lot of people with lots of talent, but not everybody with talent is successful. Humbleness, patience, discipline, and more important is character. I want you to focus on sentence completion section again and again. And I will also try to conduct one more session on this section called sentence completion. I hope the session is useful. Thank you so much. Have a great Sunday, dear.